So, our next speaker that we're so honored, she is such a light, is Reverend Therese Phillips. Now, she became familiar with religious science and the teachings of Ernest Holmes in 1988 when she attended services in Red Deer. Reverend Douglas Craig was the minister of the center, which was new to Red Deer. The science of mind teachings resonated with her as she had previously studied the book The Magic of Believing by Claude M. Bristol, which she read in her teens. She was excited to discover a center to continue to learn, grow, and express spiritually. She attended ministerial classes through the Red Deer Center with Reverend Douglas Craig and Dr. Reverend Leslie Scott Harold, receiving her license in 2001. It was exciting for her to have the privilege to work with the youth for many years at the center and accompany them to various youth camps in Alberta and California. Ooh. The opportunities through the years of ministry, both of the center and through working in the community, have allowed her to honor the oneness of all and share the message each day is a gift. As you discover your daily good and believe in it and think about it, expect it to continue. Ernest Holmes. So, welcome.
Thank you. Yep.
Now you're really good.
That was the dessert to the dinner right there. Oh, I'll tell you. The icing and all. Isn't it interesting? Every single minister that came up here, we're talking about one church. But we're talking about all of the individual ministers, so many different stories of how they got here. And each one of us, I'm sure, can resonate with at least one thing that they have to say. I want to talk, since they say it's to talk about why I chose to be a minister. I don't even know if it was a choice. From the time I was very small, I always knew that there was something. And I remember way, way, way back, farther than people say, those in the know who write in the books, and they say that you cannot remember past 4 years old or whatever. I mean, no, I remember way back. And I always, always knew there was something there, something that loved me, something that took care of me, and it was greater than anything else. And that's a seed that was always there. It was like having a rock in your shoe. No matter what you did, you always knew that there was something there. So we went the other day, my husband and I, it was a harvest dinner and dance. And we were watching the people dance. We don't dance anymore. But we were watching them, and some of them were really dancing and hanging, the kind that I never learned, where you hang on to each other and you do your dancing, and they look so good and wonderful. And then there's my generation where you stand there and you kind of. But each one was really interesting. And there was one particular lady, and oh my goodness, she could boogie. And not to mention any names, Donna, but she was really, you could see the joy of dancing that she had. That was getting inside, connecting with her higher spirit. It's been an interesting journey, the journey of life and the journey of every day and the journey of knowing inside there's something greater. I went to college and I met this fellow, and he had, oh my goodness, gorgeous, long hair. I mean, long hair. And I kind of liked long hair, and I thought, holy moly, wow, how can I get him to ask me out? I have no idea how I got him to ask me out. He asked me out. Oh, Lord, I was happy. I'd made it in the world. Here was me with my black hair, believe it or not, my black hair. And it was long. And he'd put his arm around me. Don't tell my husband about this, whatever you do. Hello, Russ. We were good. And he'd put his arm around me, and I remember I'd be pushing the hair out of the way. Only it wasn't my hair, it was his hair. I'll tell you. Well, Mr. Wonderful, he literally dumped me. Dumped me. And all of a sudden, I felt horrible and awful. And a few years prior to that, I had gone to a school in Naramata, BC, and it was sort of a free school. You went to the school, but you learned about yourself, and all the people were the same ages as I was. And so I went back to Naramata. I got on the bus. I hardly had any money. I got on the bus, I went to Naramata, and I rented one of the little cottages they had there. And I didn't have too much to eat, but it was in the fall. There were apples on the ground, so I ate the apples, and I decided I'd go on one of the paths that we always went on. And it was quite a trek, and it went way deep in the woods, and I'd only done it twice before, but I did make it. I got all the way to what we called Okanagan Falls. And it was just these falls coming down deep in the woods. And I sat down, so happy I'd actually found that, because I could have been lost there. And I sat down, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm thinking, it's so pretty. It's so pretty. And then it happened. Everything became one. Everything. I was no longer here. Oh, it's so beautiful, but how I want to explain it so well. There was no time. There was no space. And I heard the words, because I used to study the Bible. Don't worry. Your time here is like a blink of the eye. Forget the hurt. The world is, you're greater than the world. You're greater than all of this. And I became one with the boulders that was there. I became one with the waterfall. I became one with the trees. But even greater, everything. And I realized that my little poor me here on earth was like a speck in the, it was nothing really, because I was so much more and so much bigger that I always had a connection, but that was something that I realized I always did know, but I was actually showing it. And I've only ever had that experience once, and I think it's a one-time thing. So when I came back to regular old Red Deer here and working and all of that stuff, and I wanted to tell people. Now we're talking like maybe 1971. I wanted so bad to tell people, look, 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 you are so much more. Don't be afraid. But I'm talking like late 60s, early 70s, and you go out there and you're saying, well, and my mind went all of, and I saw it, and they're thinking, oh, what she bought, what she's smoking, what she doing. But it was not that. It was real. But it was so much greater than any physical thing. It was, well, what can I say, out of this world? But it wasn't. It was the whole universal thing. And I knew that I could not shut up about it. I knew that I needed to let people know, you are so much greater than you are. You are not alone. You have all of this in you, part of you. And when I come and speak, and I'll be doing my morning meditation, or I'll come up and talk, and what do I talk about? Oh, good morning, my name is Tress Phillips, I am the minister, I'm happy to see you here. No. What happened on the way here? That's what I talk about. The most amazing thing happened. Good morning, everybody. I saw an incredible flock of geese go over. I saw a deer just down at the bottom of the hill there. And it was just watching us. And isn't that wonderful? That's how it is, because I know that the deer is not a deer. I and the deer are the one connected energy. We're all one, creative from the universe. But I can't get up and yell that. It's a gift seeing the deer. Each day is a gift. We, you are gifts. And thanks to Reverend Doug for teaching Science of Mind. Thanks for all the ministers and teachers. Thanks for everyone here wondering about their own life. I can finally maybe share a little bit about this oneness that I experience, the beauty of life itself. Part of what I did when I came was the youth. So why the youth? You've heard the little kids, babies, maybe a toddler, and their laugh is a belly laugh. They are connected. They are happy because they are pure. There's been no, you can't, shame on you, bad you, whatever. None of that. They are pure. And teenagers, so vulnerable. Being with them, sharing things with them, helping them realize that they too are pure, that all these little nigglies out there are nothing. They're the ones that count. And the thing is about the connection is so often people, they still do, but the kids, like when I went to California, oh, here's your group of kids, not even the kids I know, new kids. And I'd be looking at them, and we'd be talking, and I'd say, I don't know, are you okay? And they would tell me, well, at home this happened with my dad. So they connect. So that is part of the ministry. recognizing the divineness in all. I've always worked, and I worked full time, I worked overtime, I took a lot of minutes of meetings, and it was, the summers were the only time I could get time off. So all of the different courses we would have to learn to be a minister, if there were things during the year that weren't in the summer, I could not attend because I worked. But when I did attend, it was wonderful hearing all the different ministers, what they do. But where I worked, it was a hospital environment. And for me, the ministry is not just here at inside this building. It's everywhere you go, there's a way you can connect. And I would be at work, and here we are, everybody rushing around, and here is someone that I know is from the church here, or someone I know, and they'd say, look, this is happening. We would have our little huddle right there, right in the hallway. I didn't care if my boss passed me. I didn't care who passed me. We were doing spiritual mind treatment, knowing the highest good of all concerned. How dare I make, in my mind, how dare I have the walls of a building stop my ministry? And it continues in many ways. Because right now I am working in a ministry that is with the seniors or the others. And that is to do with the Remembrance Day, going out and speaking to others. It's very special, the Remembrance Day, and that is a way I can connect. And I'm going to, with others, to the different nursing homes, different places, and doing a service for Remembrance Day. And this, we'll see some of the people crying. They are the vets that were there. We see people singing the old war songs because that is part of their youth. And many people, this is not such an important thing, but it's important especially to me because my father was one of the soldiers. And my father was injured. And he married a woman from Scotland. Well, then I met this man, and we got married, and we discover his father was in World War II. His mother was an English war bride. So then we get to say, hey, you and I would not be here if there had not been a war. And that's like, well, that's not good that there's a war. And yet here is a goodness that has come out of that. Our child, our grandchildren. So we don't always know how the cards are going to play, but we know we have a say in it because we are one with the divine, that there's always a beautiful outcome if we choose to see it. So how do we choose to see our life? How do we choose to live our life? Through all the different age groups you've heard talk here, and all the people here, realize each one has their own story to tell, their own gifts to give, and each one is so glorious, each of you. And I would just like, just for a moment, to just invite you to do a meditation if you wish. I know the letter that Dr. Leslie wrote was that I was the prayer ministry. And prayer can mean many things. So please, if you wish, just join with me and just become quiet and still. And inhale and exhale. In, out. In, relax, let go, and be peace, calm, peace, calm. Know within you is the life force. Every breath taken is a confirmation of the unique and wonderful and powerful being that you are. And feel deep down inside. And allow yourself to listen to what the voice within you is saying. Not just your voice, but that deep seed within you that is urging you to go forward. Like the pebble in the shoe. What is driving you? What is giving you the energy to go forward? That is your gift or gifts. But they're not your gifts alone. It is the united, universal mind. Reaching out and speaking through you to be who you are and to grow and to expand. Knowing the blessing is you. Allow yourself to discover the purpose of your being. Feel it. Embrace it. Know it. Inhale. Exhale and release. Inhale and exhale. And inhale and become more aware of today, of your being here. And when you are ready, come back to this room. You may have just heard the voice of your inner ministry, what you are here for. What a gift each of you are. And this is part of what is taught. We know it ourselves, but through this teaching, through the teachings of various teachers, but the writings of Dr. Holmes, the writings of other people, we may connect. And that is what we are about. Isn't it great just being alive? That you can go on and continue, and you're not doing it all by yourself. You're sharing. Everything you do is like throwing a pebble into that still water, and you make a difference, and it goes out, and who knows who you're going to reach with you sharing who you are. So, in closing, I just want to say thank you for being you. Thank you for coming here. And the journey's just beginning. So I'm going to say, so it is. And come on, let's just get going. I always like making a big splash.
Somebody's got to do that.
Russ! Oh my God, here, better watch this. It's a family show.
Oh, we gotta have some laughter.
You'll get that? Thank you, Reverend Tress. That was such a great reminder that we are so much more bigger than our small selves. We are the gift, and you are our gift. Thank you. And so our next great speaker and our final speaker for the day is Reverend Vera McNally. Now, Reverend Vera began her spiritual journey in 1983 during a time of great personal transformation. A friend gifted her handbook to Higher Consciousness by Ken Keyes Jr., opened the door to a lifelong path of awakening and inner discovery. In 1991, she began her formal studies in science of mind, graduating in 1996 and serving as minister for the Rocky Mountain House Center. And in 2002, Reverend Vera moved to the Maritimes, where she continued to deepen her spiritual studies. Upon returning to Alberta, she furthered her education through the International Metaphysical Ministry, earning her bachelor's degree and later opening a spiritual center in Calgary. Her journey expanded through the study of shamanism with the Institute of Shamanic Studies, becoming a shamanic practitioner and integrating this earth-based wisdom into her ministry. For the past 10 years, her calling led her to serve the homeless population, work that she found deeply humbling and rewarding. 2 years ago, Reverend Vera embraced a new chapter, traveling across Canada from coast to coast in her minivan, living simply and experiencing the beauty and spirit of the land firsthand. Through all these chapters, Reverend Vera has continued to expand her understanding and embodiment of spirit through various spiritual modalities. She is a compassionate pastor and teacher of New Thought philosophy, dedicated to guiding others in spiritual growth, emotional empowerment, and authentic living. Her ministry is grounded in love, consciousness, and spiritual awakening. With compassion and clarity, she helps others reconnect to the truth of who they are, radiant expressions of the One. Her guiding belief: when we open our hearts to Spirit, miracles unfold naturally. Reverend Vera.
I think I'm turned. Oh, yeah, I'm turned on. Here we go again. Well, do you really want to know? I'll be for later in our secret mastermind group. Okay, good afternoon, beloved souls. It is so powerful and wonderful to be here to witness all the speakers that have been here and to hear all the wisdom as we all walk the one path, the path of truth, but we always do it in a different way, in our own way, which we're so lucky to do. So when I decided to put together this Saturday workshop or get together, and when I said to everybody, okay, like, what did you learn about this journey? Like, what unfolded for each and every one of you? And going in the past 40 years, I have to say, there were so many gifts that I had acquired. There was just so many. To pick one or two was really hard. I had to really concentrate on that. And where it finally came to me is when my daughter-in-law Mandy and we went camping out to McLean Creek. And we were walking through the pastures, and I said to her, I think I'm going to talk about forgiveness. And there's a reason for that. Many, many years ago, I was a very angry person, and I didn't forgive anybody. And when Doug says no blame, it was all their fault. Had nothing to do with me. Absolutely nothing to do with me. It was all their fault. And as I started walking my path, little did I know that Doug made us do mirror work, right? So when you do mirror work, who's looking back at you? Not any of you guys were looking back at me. I was looking back at myself. So I had some really deep learning to do, a lot of forgiveness, a lot of healing took place. And it was great. It was a great journey. So as a minister, spiritual practitioner, spiritual healer, and also addictions counselor, I've been blessed with many spiritual nuggets on my journey. Today I want to speak about a very personal place, a place that many of you have visited in your own paths on your journey, and it's a space between love and loss, between anger and grace, and between heartbreak and forgiveness. It's a story about forgiveness and compassion, and it's about my own story of walking along my husband through the sacred path of Alzheimer's. And if any of you have had an experience of going through that, you know it's not the pleasant, but it's not the worst either. You really learn about who you are, not just a person that's going through it, but who you are, and where do you stand on that path, and where do you stand in your own spirituality. So when someone you love begins to fade, not in body at first, but in memory, it's one of the deepest spiritual initiations you can face. My husband Gary and I walked through so much together. We shared laughter, dreams, plans, and everyday kind of love that makes life full. But slowly, that familiar light in his eyes began to dim. Words that once came easily got tangled. Some days he would forget where we were, or even who I was. And each time that happened, my heart broke a little more. And I used to think forgiveness was about big betrayals, things people do to us. But Alzheimer's taught me that forgiveness also means letting go of what life doesn't give back. It's forgiving the disease itself. It's forgiving the anger that you have, that your loss that you're going to go through and that you go through. So there's a lot of loss when it comes to someone that's sick. So forgiving life for not turning out the way you thought it would be, that was the big one. Because like we say, we all have expectations. We expect our life to go this way, to go this way. We're on this path, we expect it to go this way. But life will always give you the lesson that You got to let go, because what you think is going to happen very seldom does. It's a new path. Every day you get up, it's a new path. So forgive yourself for being tired. That was a big one for me. I felt I had to do it all. I had to do it all. I had to go shopping. I had to do this. I had to do that. Make sure the oil was changed in the car. Make sure the tires were on. Thank goodness my son lived in New Brunswick with us, so he took care of a lot of that. But then when they came back to Alberta, it was on my plate, and it was like, now I've got to do it all, everything. So it takes patience, and you run out of patience sometimes. But you're human, and you have to forgive yourself. You have to step back and say, in time, it will get done. I always knew my tires were going to be put on, because Dustin would remind me, Mom, you got your tires on? Yeah, I'm working on it. Well, hurry up, it's going to snow, and we know what snow like is in New Brunswick, right? Deep and thick and wet. So as the illness progressed, there came a day when his family, people who loved him in their own way, decided to take him away without my consent, without my presence. It felt like being torn in two pieces, two people, like I was just like ripped. I was confused. I was angry. I couldn't understand how people could act out of love and yet cause so much pain. I remember standing in the kitchen in Calgary, because I was in Calgary at that time, holding my coffee that had gone cold and whispering to Spirit, how can I forgive this? How can I forgive? How am I supposed to let this go? What came back was, you forgive because love is bigger than pain. Yeah, that was a big one. Did it come easily? You forgive because love is bigger than pain. So standing there in that kitchen, I thought, are you kidding me? That's not going to happen. Forget it. I'm too mad. It's not going to happen. But as time went on, I'm still holding my coffee, and I'm thinking, you've got to let go. It was a long journey before I finally let it all go. But I did. I did. Again, it didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen in a week. It took a while. But forgiveness rarely does happen overnight. It can, but it doesn't always happen overnight. And it's not a single act. It's a practice. You have to practice forgiveness. A prayer that begins with a broken heart and ripples outward. I started by forgiving small things. The phone calls that went unanswered when I'd call down there and they would ignore me. The misunderstandings between family members. The sharp words that came from them out of fear. And it took 11 months before I got to speak to my husband from when he was gone. So I had 11 months of practicing to learn to forgive. I went for therapy for the first time in my life. And my therapist, Perry Snow, I'll never forget him. And he said to me, okay, this happened. Your husband was taken. But where are you in all of this? All you're doing is working over here on this side with your anger and your anger at the people. How about we go to your circle here and work on you? The first thing he said to me is, you have to learn how to forgive. So here it comes again. What do you mean I have to learn to forgive? I didn't do anything wrong. He says, not about being right or wrong. It's about how do you want to feel? Do you want to stay in the pain? And do you want to be right, as Doug always said? Do you want to be right? No, I didn't want to be right. I wanted to heal. I really wanted to heal. So I learned that compassion doesn't say what happened was okay. It means I choose not to let it close my heart. It means recognizing that pain is not the final word. Love is. In Science of Mind, we often say that forgiveness is releasing the mental and emotional energy that binds us to the past. It's not a gift to the other person. It's a gift to ourselves. Because as long as we hold resentment, we remain tethered to the very pain we long to be free from. And when we forgive, truly forgive, sometimes miracles happen. We begin to see through the eyes of God. We see that every soul is doing the best that they can from the level of their awareness. We see that behind even the harshest behavior, is a call for love. So it took me a while when that came through, that to see through the eyes of God, to look at, I call them my outlaws, and back east, to be able to see that why would they do that? Why would they take him, knowing that I was taking very good care of him, the family here was taking very good care of him. But again, I never got the answer. But there was many nights I couldn't sleep, and I just laid there because of what had happened, and I started whispering out loud. And that's, for me, when I talk out loud to myself, and I'm quite sure everybody does, we get these really brilliant answers, don't we? So then I started saying, I forgive you, Gary, for forgetting me. I forgive the outlaws for taking you. And I forgive myself for not being able to change it. That was the big thing. I could not change what happened. I had to accept it. It wasn't easy. Ask Cheryl, she'll tell you. Ask my kids, they'll tell you. It wasn't easy. 11 months was not easy. It felt like 11 years in purgatory, literally. But again, I had to forgive myself for not being able to change it. And every time I said those words, my heart softened just a little bit, not a lot right away. And every time the light of compassion grew stronger than the darkness of grief. Eventually, I came to realize that my husband hadn't truly been taken from me. His body may have left, his mind may have wandered, but love never goes anywhere. It's consistent. Love is eternal. Love is a thread that connects us through all things, even through disease, through death, even through misunderstanding. Forgiveness and compassion, I learned, are not the end of the story. They are the doorway back to peace, back to love, back to understanding. So if you're holding on to something or someone you can't forgive, or a situation that feels impossible, I invite you to take a breath right now, place your hand over your heart, just take a deep breath, and just let it go. Just let it go. Let go of that person or that situation that is holding you back. Let it go and just send them love. And as you do that, feel that steady, quiet rhythm of your heart beating and sending them out love. Take the pulse of the divine love moving through you. That's the part of you that knows how to forgive, even when the human heart doesn't. You don't have to know how to do it. You only have to be willing to do it. And Spirit will do the rest. Spirit will do the rest. Just give it to Spirit. Turn it over. And sometimes you have to look in the mirror to turn it over and say, okay, I no longer need this. I don't have to feel this pain. I don't need this stuff anymore. I can turn it away, give it away to somebody. So forgiveness is not weakness. It's the highest expression of strength. Compassion doesn't erase pain, it transforms it. And love never forgets who we truly are, or who those people are that are in your lives that you feel have done you wrong, because they're on their path. And when they're on their path, their journey, as Gary was in Alzheimer's, for whatever reason he chose to go out that way, bless his heart, but that was his journey. And I had to forgive myself for being angry that he decided to take that disease on this lifetime. But that was his journey to make. So today I bless the journey that broke me open and taught me to love beyond reason. Because in the end, that's what the whole journey is all about, learning to see through the eyes of love itself. After the passing of my husband, I carried these two great teachers with me into my next chapter of life, forgiveness and compassion. They weren't just ideas anymore. They have become lived experiences. Through my own heartbreak, I had to come to understand what it means to release, to let go, to forgive, and for not for anybody else's sake, but for my own soul's freedom. Forgiveness frees your soul to walk in the light, to walk in the love. When I entered my next journey of ministry, I was working with the homeless population in Calgary. And these two qualities became my constant companions. I wasn't just out there to hand out food to the homeless people that came in the shelter, nor was I there to even give them shelter. I was there to listen to their stories. As I've spoken before about the homeless population, every one of them has a story. And not everyone is an addict. Some are there for different reasons, mental reasons, financial reasons and stuff like that, but every one of them has a story. So I heard stories about from these individuals who've lost families, lost their homes, their dignity, and hope. And yet within each of these stories was a spark, a sacred remembrance of who they truly were beneath the pain. As I listened, Spirit wisdom, teach them about forgiveness. Teach them what forgiveness is all about. And sometimes I would talk to them about forgiveness. Well, I'm not going to forgive that person and so, because I knew they weren't ready yet. So I just let them talk to me about their stories. And slowly but surely, they started coming around. You see, forgiveness, as Ernest Holmes reminds us, is not a thing we do, but a thing we let happen. It's a quiet surrender of the heart that allows divine love to move through us, washing away bitterness, shame, and regret. So I began to teach them, not from the pulpit. Sometimes it was from a park bench. Sometimes it was at the shelter table. Sometimes it was a Tim Hortons coffee shop. Not that I like Tim Hortons, but, I agreed to meet him there. And so I drank the London Fog instead. Sometimes it was sitting on the floor in the shelter we called Zone 6. It was called the Dark Zone. And sometimes they'd be sitting in there because they wanted to share their story, but they didn't want it to be done like bright light because they didn't want me to see them cry. They didn't want me to see them break because that pain that they had was so deep. So it doesn't matter where you are. Listen to somebody's story and teach them about forgiveness. Forgiveness of self. Forgive yourself. So again, it means that when we choose not to be imprisoned by it anymore, that's what forgiveness is. When we choose not to be imprisoned any longer from your pain. It could be a pain from a family member saying something that really broke your heart. Well, let it go. You don't need it. They said it for whatever reason, and they may not have meant it how you took it. How many times have people said things to you and you took it the wrong way, and that's not what they meant at all? Happens a lot. And when we began to understand that we don't need to be imprisoned any longer, something beautiful happens. Compassion began to bloom. First, a little for themselves, my homeless people. Sometimes it was just a glimmer. And then slowly, they began to forgive others. So one man told me, I can't forgive my mom for killing herself. He was angry that she had taken her own life. He didn't want to understand why she took her life. She had wrote a letter. She was not good mentally in her mental state, so she decided I don't want to be here anymore. So she took her life, leaving her 10-year-old son behind to fend for himself because Daddy was no longer around either. So Grandma and Grandpa took him in, and he became a rebel, which most of us here know what rebels are like. And so he then became on the street as a youth and carried on with his life in that way. So I said to him, then start forgiving yourself for holding on so tight to the memory that it keeps on hurting you. It's the memory that's hurting you. It's not your mom anymore. Well, he thought I was crazy. So, but he did finally come around. He did come around, and he started writing letters to his deceased mom and getting all of that out. And we've learned that in our Science of Mind classes to be taught how to release different things. And Doug's a great teacher. If anybody needs to know how to do it, sign up for class with Doug. He'll take you on a fast pace on learning. Ernest Holmes once wrote, when we forgive, we free ourselves and those who have hurt us. Love alone can heal the wounds of the world. You see, forgiveness opens the heart and compassion walks in. I saw that truth repeatedly in the eyes of those who had once felt invisible. And as compassion took root, something miraculously unfolded. People who had given up began to have hope again. They started talking about finding work, reconnecting with family, and even volunteering to help others. Forgiveness and compassion become not just lessons, they become pathways to a new life, to your new life. How many of you have to give forgiveness? Sometimes you have to forgive on a daily basis. Sometimes our thoughts, we're human. We don't always have positive thoughts. There's many times that we get up, and driving's a prime example. How many of us have road rage? I know I don't. But I do have to put that little mirror down. Okay, I forgive myself. So yeah, I mean, every day we can go and forgive ourselves for something. You know, something doesn't go our right way. We get up out of bed not in a good mood, and we say something to our partners or to our family members or friends and stuff, and it's like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. You know, sometimes it's better just to keep the lips sealed until you're coming from a good place. And it isn't that the promises for all of us that we walk a pure life without pain. We know that. I mean, there's going to be pain coming into our lives at many times. That through forgiveness, we can return home to our hearts. And through compassion, we return home to one another. That's what compassion does. We return home to each other because we have compassion. So when we have compassion for everybody, we have compassion for ourselves as well. So take that deep breath and let the walls around your heart soften just a little bit. Allow compassion to enter. Because when forgiveness and passion walk hand in hand, miracles happen. Old wounds heal, relationships are restored, and we find ourselves standing once again in the light of the divine love. So may every one of us carry that light forward into our families, into our communities, and into every corner of the world that needs healing. And today, this world needs a lot of healing. So send out your light and your love and your compassion. For true forgiveness is freedom, and compassion is a way that life takes form. And so it is. And I would just like to take a quick moment to say thank you to each and every one of you for being here, for the speakers. Such beautiful wisdom was shared today, and take it to heart. So whatever was said, take what was really moved you and work with that. Work with that. Have yourselves a great afternoon, and have a great weekend, and an absolutely beautiful week. Bless you all.